Hey guys, glad you stopped by. Getting ready to start some dinner. And now we'll have time to let it cook while we sit and have conversation because, once again, like I said last week, we're gonna do another Crockpot dinner. In case you haven't noticed, especially if you've been following me for a little while now, I love the Crockpot. We are constant, non-stop around here, so the Crockpot actually benefits me. Now after the holidays, after the first of the year, when things slow down a little bit, now there are going to be some big changes come the first of the year. Not with us, we'll still be friends, still hang out a couple days a week, but things are going to get a little weird around here. And I'll tell you more about that after the holidays. But with the way things are going on, especially over the next 2 weeks, I got a lot of cookies, cupcakes, some pies to make, all for customers. So between that and still working at the pizza shop and everything else going on around here, Crockpot is my friend. So tonight we're going to do a excuse me, pork shoulder and cornbread chili in the Crockpot. The ingredients, very simple. Guaranteed you probably either have them on your spice rack or in the cupboard or pantry, depending on where you're at. And only takes a minute to throw together. The hardest part about this was cutting up the pork shoulder. And that will only be difficult if you buy a big pork shoulder. Like this calls for 2 or 3 pounds of pork shoulder. But I bought a 7-pound pork shoulder. This thing was massive. But that way I can cut it up into cubes and store the rest of it for a rainy day. In this case, I'm gonna make some version of pork and beans, which I have a video for. And if you want, I can either leave a link down below or I can throw it up here in the end. It's here, might be over here, but it'll be one of the suggested video at the end. It's really good. It's a recipe that Chris has had for a very long time, and it is just off the hook, full of flavor, and so easy to make. But anyhow, we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss this. So this recipe, like I said, it's a slow cooker recipe, and it's pork shoulder and cornbread. Basic ingredients. Some stuff, pretty much everything some things you have to get from the store or the garden if you're still able to garden. Because it's got tomatoes, it's got fresh green peppers, fresh red peppers, fresh onion. It's got all kinds of cool stuff. But anyhow, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If this is your first video, hope you check out some of the other ones, maybe get something out of it. If you're returning, thank you. If you are one of the new subscribers, a lot of new subscribers, which is just amazing, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. And with subscribing, don't forget, if you haven't, to like, share, and subscribe. That sharing and the liking and even the subscribing, it helps our neighborhood grow. It gets us out in the algorithm even more. I am also going to try to link probably down in the recipe below, one of my favorite pies that would go with this. Really good. Some people may know it as a milk pie. We know it here in Ohio as a sugar cream pie. People up north might know it as a Hoosier pie. But it is my all-time favorite pie. I've been craving one lately. And they're also good for the holidays. The slow cooker recipes for the last couple days, I don't know if you do okay, so in our house on Christmas Eve, because of the hustle and the bustle of the evening, and then you've got church, things like that, we've always done either a slow cooker recipe for Christmas Eve or chili, which you also do in the slow cooker. Now, in this case, it's both. And so last week and this week would both be really good dishes to do on Christmas Eve. That was, I think I mentioned that last week, but I could be wrong. But that was kind of the point behind these. Plus, like I said, crazy day today, like today, I've got a cake to make, which I'll get started on as soon as we get this in the crock pot, and then maybe I can show it to you when we get back, depending on how far we are with it. I at least need to get it baked and the icing made today. So anyhow, let's get down to the counter and we will start making this bad boy. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Okay, we're down here at the countertop. Well, it's stovetop, but it's covered, so it becomes part of my countertop. This thing was the stovetop cover was the greatest thing I ever made. the only thing you'll really need for this recipe is Crockpot. There's very little prep work to do to it. Like I said, the biggest hindrance, at least for me, was cutting up the pork shoulder. Now you can also use tenderloin. I got this recipe from Tasty, and it's kind of cool. I actually downloaded their app, and very rarely do I download an app for anything. But when you look up a recipe, there'll even be comments down below that, I mean, and they're actual comments, but they'll also be listings of what they did differently. And this thing is so versatile, it is crazy. So I kind of made it my own. It only had like 5 ingredients to start with, but anyhow, you will definitely need a crock pot. And then I've got the recipe written down right here. And like I said, I made it my own. I took some of the stuff that they did, added some stuff of my own, but I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. So, last week I asked, what was the difference between a crock pot and a slow cooker? Nothing. Other than a crock pot is a name brand, much like Band-Aid or Kleenex. A slow cooker is the generic name for it. So they're all slow cookers, but you can buy a slow cooker from the Crockpot company. I thought that was kind of cool. I just found that out. So now you know, you can go tell your friends. But anyhow, so the first thing we're going to need to put in this is 2 to 3 pounds of cubed up pork shoulder. So I've got my pork shoulder right here, and I've got it cubed up. Now, when you buy a pork shoulder, it's got a ton of, you know, big chunks of fat. It's even got a fat cap, which is just one big piece of fat on the top, which is, you can use that, you can render that down. Man, it adds flavor to other dishes. You keep hold of it. It's kind of like when you keep your bacon grease for making stuff. Same thing. Or you can crisp it up and put it in dishes. But I did leave like the little pork, or the little fat lines that are in them. You just don't want the hard stuff. So if you run across something that, and I didn't save any of it, but that's really hard, get rid of that. But all that is, those little lines there, that's flavor. So we want that. So I've got 3 pounds, and it calls for 2 to 3 pounds of pork shoulder. Or like I said, you can use pork loin, pork roast, you can use pot roast, you can use steak. There was like 20 different meats used throughout the recipe. I went with the original recipe's suggestion. Then the next thing we're going to add to this is going to be 1 can of red enchilada sauce. I know, right? This is what kind of caught me, was the enchilada sauce. I thought, enchilada sauce and chili, interesting. So we'll put that in there. We are going to add some spices. I have 1 tablespoon of seasoning salt, 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, or not chili powder, but chili seasoning. You can, if you make your own, 1 tablespoon, or, you know, if you buy your chili seasoning, you just need 1 tablespoon, but however you want to do it. And these are adjustable. Let's say you don't have any chili seasoning. You could use equal parts chili powder, paprika, cumin, and oregano, and it'll give you the same thing. Whether it be 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon, whatever, but you want 1 tablespoon total in this case. And then I have a tablespoon of brown sugar. And what that brown sugar does is it cuts into all the acidities we're putting in here and will help balance the flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and get that dumped in there. And then I've got 1 can of kidney beans drained, just some light colored kidney beans. They could be the red ones or the dark ones. Or let's say you don't like kidney beans. You can bean of your choice. Red beans, black beans, whatever, you know, whatever works for you. And normally I tell you, you don't even have to have beans, but I think in this case, a little bit of bean would work. And then I am also gonna throw in 1 can of chili beans. Now the original recipe just called for 1 can of kidney beans. Everybody down in the suggestions though, said that it actually wasn't enough beans for, you know, for the dish, and so they recommended everybody put in 2. Now it varied. Some people put in a thing of black beans and a thing of kidney beans. Some people put in 2 kidney beans. Some people put in a chili bean, or did like I did. So I've got 1 can of kidney beans, 1 can of chili beans. We'll get that mixed up real quick. Tell you, this doesn't take 5 minutes to actually put together. So you could be maybe 15-20 minutes tops putting this together, because there's some dicing. Now I've got all that in there. Next thing we're going to add, and this is something you have option on also, tomatoes. I just went ahead and diced up 3 Roma tomatoes. They were smaller ones, the 2 large ones, 3 small ones. But you could also just buy a 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes. You need 1 cup of tomatoes. So you need 10 ounces of enchilada sauce, a 15-ounce can of kidney beans, a 15-ounce can of chili beans, 1 cup of tomatoes, and then in this jar here, this container here, I have got 1 cup of red bell pepper, 1 cup of green bell pepper. This was an option. The original recipe didn't have that, but there was a couple people that had it in theirs. Now that sounds really good. And then the last thing is 1 medium onion, or about 1 cup of onion, and it's, I have it finely chopped. All 3 vegetables are finely chopped. Now, you don't have to finely chop yours. You can dice them. You can rough chop them. Whatever you and yours likes is what you should do. Like I said, recipes like this I love because they are so versatile. You can do anything you want with them. Like we could add more stuff to this if we wanted, but I think this is a good start. So we're done. All we gotta do is just kind of mix this together a little bit. We didn't even have to do that. We could have just left it piled in there, but I wanted to mix it up. So now we can start cooking it. We'll go ahead and get our lid on here. We'll turn on our crock pot as soon as I get this done. We'll turn her on. We're gonna leave it on high, and we're gonna cook this for a total of 4 hours. But you're like, Brian, didn't put any cornbread on it. So we're gonna wait 3 hours. When we hit the 3-hour mark, we'll come back and we'll talk about the cornbread. Because I haven't decided exactly how I want to do the cornbread yet. But because there are 2 options for that. We can either dollop it on top, make the cornbread batter, dollop it on top, and let it cook on top of the chili, or we can bake it in the oven. And I haven't decided which we're going to do yet, but we will do one or the other. So I'll see you here in just a second. Okay, we are back. This has been going for about 3 hours, and so now we're going to make our corn muffin mix, our cornbread mix. Now, you could just buy cornbread mix, but I don't. We buy cornmeal and make our own. That way, it's not a whole lot different, but it's close enough. So this will give me an opportunity to show you how I was talking the other day about and baking, how you take it when you're doing, because I'm going to put 2 cups of the cornbread, the cornmeal in here. Now, I'm making a double batch, so this would be like using 2 boxes. And I decided that I am going to dollop it on top of the chili versus cooking it in the oven. I thought it would take something away from it, but you want to spoon this in until it's level, right? So that way you don't smash it down and you get the proper amount. That way you get the proper amount. So we need 2 cups of cornmeal in here, and we'll go ahead and level it out. That way we know we got the proper amount. There's 1. And then if you were going to do it the way when you have different grams, you would just simply go like this and pull it out and then level it that way. Cornmeal isn't quite as bad as flour, because it doesn't pack as easy. It's not as fine. It doesn't smush. Okay, so then to this, I am going to add, I'm just simply following the directions off the back of the package here. We don't make it often enough to for me to know it by hand, but like I said, it's on the back of the box, or bag as the case may be. And then I need 2 cups of flour. Alright, so then we got our 2 cups of flour in there, 2 cups of cornmeal in there. Next thing we're gonna need to put in is 4 tablespoons of sugar, although my tablespoon is dirty, so I'll just go ahead and get my half tablespoon and we'll do 8 of those. But it's, so we'll actually, since we're doubling it, it would be 8 tablespoons of sugar. Of baking powder. So yeah, normally I buy the smaller containers of baking powder, and this time around I found the big ones and I thought, oh cool, I'll just buy a big one because we use a lot of baking powder. And I kind of miss the big one, or the little ones had like a leveler on here that you could scrape it across. I mean, I left the foil on there, so I guess that would work too. But it just seemed to make it a whole lot easier. Yeah, the big ones don't have it for whatever reason. But we need 8 teaspoons of baking powder, which sounds like a lot, but we did double the mix, so it's got to do double the work, right? Because that's a lifting agent, it lifts it up. So we got that in there, right? So now what we need to have is 1 teaspoon of salt. But I'm not going to put quite a teaspoon in there, maybe about 3/4 teaspoon in there. And this is forgiving. It's not, I mean, it's baking, but it's not quite like baking. So to this, as soon as I find a home for my salt, we need to add our liquid ingredients. We're just gonna dump them all in here whole and then whisk it up. So I've got 2 large eggs. Go ahead and get those put in there. I've got 1 3/4 cup of milk. Go ahead and get that in there. And then I've got a 1/2 cup of oil, vegetable oil. I'm just gonna put that in there. And then I will get my whisk, since I find it right there. Now I know you're saying to yourself, Brian, you didn't whisk together the dry ingredients. And you're right, I didn't. But you know what, it's okay. It's all gonna go together in the long run. See, I mean, it's starting to turn yellow. It's starting to look like corn muffin mix. All right, we got that all mixed together. So now, you know, and on my directions, like I said, it depends on who's you're using. We were to mix this for 1 minute, and I did. 1 minute it was. We whisked it together, Now we are going to carefully take off our lid to our slow cooker. Yeah, we're just gonna lift it up like that, away from you. See how that's steamed up like that? That's exactly, that can burn you if you are not careful. So you always wanna be careful, you know, hands down. Whew, that's hot. So, what we're gonna do now is, first I'm going to find something. I wanna give this a quick stir while we got it out. I mean, why not? Wow, this smells so amazingly good. I know you can't really see me, but this smells so amazingly good, I promise. You know, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed with this at all. You know, the meat's starting to, I do believe the meat is done, so now we're just letting it get tender, right? Because that's the beauty of a slow cooker, it makes everything tender. So we're gonna get that. Now, what we're gonna do is, I am just gonna use this plastic ice cream scoop right here, but we're just gonna dollop our mix on top of our chili. All right, so I got everything dolloped on there. We are good. As you see, it's nice and even. Maybe bring it a little closer, but like I said, all I did was just take the ice cream scoop to it and put it on there in bits and pieces. A scoop at a time. That way it didn't, because if you had just poured it on, it really would have just gone straight down to the bottom, where here it's kind of sitting on the top floating. So now, because the recipe said let this cook for another hour, sorry, I'm gonna fire my cameraman, I swear, someday. But since it said to let it cook for an hour, with 1 box, I'll check it in about an hour. Now, some people bake this in the oven separately, which you could do, let this cook for another hour without the cornbread on it, And when it's got about 20 minutes left, throw your cornbread mix in the oven, or whatever your directions say from the people who make your corn muffin mix. But it's still gonna be, if you stick it in the top, the toothpick should come out clean. I'm gonna guess that the bottom of this is not going to be completely cornmeal or corn muffin. I base that on the fact that I'm thinking if you do dumplings, you know, dumplings don't always make a dry, firm dumpling. It's just whatever's floating on the top side that usually does that. But we'll see. So anyhow, I'm gonna let this cook for about an hour, hour and a half more. And when I come back, we'll check it and see what it looks like. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Okay, so we have been an hour and 10-15 minutes, and it looks done. I mean, I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know, but I still have it on. Actually, it's kicked over to warm. I'm gonna kick it back over to high just in case, but like I said, it looks done. Now, I suppose, you could just cook this in the oven. I don't know why you couldn't. Oh yeah, see, it's done it. Nothing on the toothpick there at all. You know, and I think it would just depend on your preference. Do you want chili with cornbread on the side? Or, you know, where you don't break it up in the bowl anyhow? And or do you want it on in your chili? Although, I think it would taste just fine the way it is. Yep, we have checked it in several spots and we are good. So we'll go ahead and power her down. I could have just let this sit here for a minute and cool, or at least calm down. But, I mean, realistically, I'm not going to because I'm starved. So we'll go ahead and get her plated up. Get some of this cornbread off of here. Oh, yeah. Whew, maybe we could have probably just gone with one batch of cornbread. That's a lot of cornbread in there, but there's a lot of chili in there too, so I think we'll be okay. So now we know. Side note, only one thing of cornbread. Yeah, because we're about half cornbread, half chili, which is okay. I mean, really, it is a, and I'm sitting here thinking about it. It is a pork butt or pork shoulder, cornbread, chili, and a slow cooker. So, cornbread. Again, I guess it depends on what you like, but that cornbread is by no means soggy, and it's done all the way through. I think next time I will just go with one batch, and I follow the recommendations of some of the people in the comments. I did a double batch, or I could do one batch on top, one batch in the oven. There were some people who, after they got done cooking it like this, they put it in the oven with the lid off, just in the crock, for a few minutes with the broiler on, and gave the top of that a nice golden brown look. I don't think it looks bad the way it is. It's not a golden brown, but it doesn't look bad. But there is our chili cornbread. Whew. And that is hot. Let me get this moved. Get you back up here where I can see your smiling face. Because I feel like sometimes I don't get to see you forever. And I will put my UGG glove on so that way I can hold this and try it. And like I said, in a crock pot, that thing could take, 20 minutes or so to calm down. I don't want to do that. But we'll get some of that cornbread on there, some of the pork. The enchilada sauce, I think, is what's making it interesting for me. I've never made a chili with enchilada sauce. That's kind of cool. Oh yeah. That pork is ridiculously tender. Wow. That was good. I don't know exactly what I was expecting, like I said, because the enchilada sauce was on me off. It has such a unique taste. But that is amazing. I mean, just amazing. Like I said, that pork is so tender, I barely felt myself chewing it up. That's how tender it is. Heck yeah. That's good. It's hot, but it's good. For sure. Other than one box of corn muffin mix, don't change a thing. Perfect. You could top that with a million things. You could go with some more fresh tomatoes. You could do, I just did cheese and jalapenos, sour cream. You could do creme, not creme fraiche, but oh my god, it's Mexican sour cream. Creme fraiche is a cream. I can't think of the name of it if I remember down here. But all the same, give this a try. That is just, that's spot on, and it's gonna be filling. I guarantee it. That corn muffin mix plus all the other, oh yeah, that's a good meal, and that's a conversation. And it didn't take any time at all. You know what, 15 minutes to get it together, to get it in the crock pot. 3 hours later, you walk back, spend 5 minutes putting together a corn muffin mix, especially if you use a pre-made one. And then another hour, and you're serving it up. So let me know if you give this a try. You won't be disappointed, I guarantee it. Tomorrow for dessert, I don't know yet. I've got a few different things I was thinking about. And I saw somebody had mentioned rice pudding in the comments, and I thought that would be good to make. And to be honest with you, I've never had rice pudding. I know that's weird, but it sounds good. And I thought, well, we could try that. Or that same person had said something about a bread pudding that I believe it was their mom used to make when they were younger, that didn't go in the stove or in the oven. It was made on the stovetop, and they couldn't find a recipe for it. And I thought, huh, that's interesting. Well, guess what? I found a recipe for it, and that looks interesting too. So we may try that. And oddly enough, I've never had bread pudding. So Chris has suggested I make one of each, but yeah, I really want to try this one and show it off, whether it be this week or next week. Just so that way, you know, our friend or our neighbor in the comments can see that there is a recipe out there. At least there will be one available. I think that would be awesome. Or who knows, all the same. But we will bake something, I guarantee it, or cook something on the stovetop. Until tomorrow though, for dessert, I love you. I love you very much, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Tell somebody else you love them and that you love them very much. It's gonna make them feel better. It's gonna make you feel good to tell them. They may need to hear it. I mean, the way life has been lately for everybody, it's good to hear those things. You make them some of this pork chili with the cornbread on top. They're gonna know you love them. They're gonna taste it in every bite, and it's gonna lead to good conversation, I guarantee it. We need conversation. We need to get to know each other, right? Yeah, you can invite your neighbors over, have some of this with them. So, till tomorrow for dessert, I love you. I'll see you then. Talk to you later.